Okay, hello book channel. It has been oh man, I think the last update I posted was looks like August 27th, 2021 on this channel, and it is currently June 17th, 2022. I haven't posted any videos mostly because I'll record them on my phone and then I'll go to post them and I'm not signed in to the account on my phone, and I don't remember. I don't have. It's always like recorded right before bed, so I never like go through the effort. And I just think to myself, oh, I'll put it on my PC. I'll sign it on my PC, then I'll just upload it there. But then I never do, so then I end up just deleting the file. Basically, it's been a while, and I think last time I talked about it, I think I finished book two's rough draft or first draft or whatever. And but yeah, so that's all done. Book two is done, and it has been published since I published it on January 29th of 2022 because that was the goal that I set because that's Chrism's birthday. So I wanted to, and this book focuses heavily on Chrism's just interaction, learning a bit about them, her, Ken, the council, Sin, whatever have you. So I thought it would be cool thematically to release it on her birthday. And I did. And here's a hardcover of it. This actually isn't even it because inside is book one, and the cover is book two because Amazon sucks and they misprinted, but it's still good to have as a display piece. Anyway, so let's get right up to a quick update for you guys. Yeah, so book two is done. That's out, which means currently the books that I have published and released fully for purchase that are canon to the story are Vengeance Children of Faust, Vengeance Cataclysm, Transgression, Origins Hebuloma, and Origins Impurity, which are together in the Origins Anthology Volume 1. And I do have plans for an anthology volume 2, which would include the story Geist. It would include another story. I think two or three small to full side stories, each being probably like 50 pages long. Um, Roughly are what I plan to do for volume 2, but that's like way on the back burner. Those are small projects that are not important, that don't explore a lot of anything like in depth, but yeah, currently I'm working on Devil to the Damned, which is actually Chrism's entire backstory. We get to experience her, who she was as a human, and her daily life, like within the week leading up to the fall of Sin, and all the events that cascade into her becoming Chrism, and then how Sin started building his like soul experimental projects with the anima. So we get to live through that. We get to go through all the bloody viscera of what Chrism had to do and her struggle with letting go of the past, remembering her past, and then choosing to let go of it so she can fully subsume herself into the role needed to gain Sin's trust, so she could, so she could work on, the whole plot of book one. Um, and that right now is sitting at just shy of 300 pages. I have about five or six, six maybe too many. I'd say 4 or 5 chapters I still need to write. Some of them, a couple of those chapters are written but need to be worked on, and then a couple of them are just the outlines. So I still have a good amount of work ahead of me. I do plan on having this book done before snow falls, hopefully before like November or something. So and I made a lot of progress. I think I started working on this maybe like 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, and in 4 or 5 months I went from page 0 to page 280 or so, and it's basically a complete story. And I have the blueprints for the other chapters. I just need to sit down and write them. I'm only giving myself like an hour a day to write, which is very limiting, but just the way that my brain is, the way that my schedule is, I just never sit down long enough. I usually write from about 11:45 a.m. to about 1 to 1:10 p.m. and then I leave for work at about 2:20. And I get home from work, and I generally don't write at night because I do most of my brainstorming at work for writing. So it's like I physically write in the morning, and then I do mental writing, and I take a lot of notes in the in like the 4 to 6 hours that I'm usually at work, which is a lot. And I always kind of feel weird talking about it like, oh, I only write for an hour a day, but that's not true. I'm writing all day long because while I'm at work, I'm constantly thinking about it, and I'll email myself because I write it down like the note section of my phone, and I don't trust my phone to not like delete it. So I email myself the pages of notes that I write, and then I copy those to a separate document, and then I reference those notes as I'm writing, and then I kind of like take the pieces and insert them where they need to go, like a big old blueprint puzzle. So I'm writing all the time. I'm just not like writing the actual book. I'm writing the notes and I'm writing some scenes, but it's not like, chapter by chapter. That process is only like an hour and a half a day, but otherwise I have probably 5 or 6 hours total in the day where I am stewing and marinating and, generating thoughts. Um, apart from that, I think this book right here is going to be, this is probably the fastest I've ever written a book. And honestly, this might be one of my favorites. Um, it's hard to kind of justify that because of like, I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite. I really enjoy the story of Transgression because it's so grounded until it's not. And it kind of paints, pictures of characters and scenarios in a really interesting light. And then, Cataclysm is a reactionary story to the sudden fallout events of Book One. And Book One is just a giant mystery. So I like Book One for the mystery aspect of it and for the puzzle. The puzzle missing 90% of its pieces as you're kind of stumbling through the dark looking for what piece might fit where kind of thing. It's that kind of story. And then Transgression fills in some of those pieces, and then Book Two fills in more of those pieces, but there's still so many blanks that we don't get to fully explore because whatever we do get explained about characters' backstories is just a summation of what happened. It's them just like, oh, this is the short version of what happened to me, blah blah blah. And we actually get to live in that moment, and even living in those moments, there are still, periods of time because Devil to the Damned takes place over the course of like 29 years, something like that. So we do have to time jump a bunch and kind of assume stuff that happens in between, because obviously I can't write for that. That's a lot of shit. But yeah, so Devil to the Damned I should be able to get it done, and honestly, the editing process won't take that long. I'm gonna print out the pages because I have my printer working now, so I don't have to wait for Amazon or Barnes and Noble to send me a draft copy. I'm just gonna print it out on paper and do my physical editing as I go, and I do like a chapter or two before bed, typically, which that process takes forever, and then after that, it's just inserting those notes. So essentially, once I get the rough draft done, the book is done for all intents and purposes, and then I print it and then I do my editing, and then the editing is just cleanup. That's all it is. I'm not going to drastically change anything because I'm making sure, just like when I did Book Two, I'm making sure to do everything to the best of my ability in the moment so there's less to do later. That's why the first rough draft is taking the longest. It's the same thing with Book Two. And that's kind of how I've evolved into writing, because Book One was such a mess. I was just kind of making scenes to make scenes without thinking about the connotation of lore and background and future implications. And now that I have that stuff set in stone, I'm just kind of like dotting some I's and coloring in some blanks. So it's a bit easier in a way, but also I have such a strict canon I have to keep to that it's also twice as hard and twice as easy at the same time. So outside of that, I do have Book Three planned. This will take place like 4 to 7 months after Book Two ends. Actually, in between where Book Two ends, because Book Two, the last two chapters, the last chapter and then the epilogue, are they take place like as a time jump or whatever. Like we jump ahead with like 4 years or something, and we see where the characters are at the end of that story. So this Book Three technically takes place in between the last chapter and the second to last chapter. Um, that also might change. I might like write Book Three and then cut off the end of Book Two later on, but I don't think I will, just because I like how it all wraps up. As Book Two can kind of feel like an ending, like a really like a bookend of the story. But then you have Book Three, which doesn't directly affect the main cast that we've been living with, except for one primary character who we've been with. And yeah, I'm not going to get into all that, but I have like 80, I want to say 80 pages of the the Book Three outline already scripted out and ready to be worked on. I'm actually going to pull that up right now because I want to see just how far along. Let's see, Book Three outline. I'm going to pull that up real quick on Word and see where that is. It has about 16 chapters scripted or blueprinted in. It's about 35 pages of just raw notes, of just blueprint timeline. So I think that book will end up being probably about 30 chapters. I usually end up at about 30 chapters. It might even be a little bit shorter. I don't know. It all depends because it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a whole thing. I have it all in my head. I have it all planned. And then after that, I might even have a book four. And book four is going to be a departure from what we're used to, but it's going to take place in the same canonicity direct timeline. It's not going to be a prequel. It's going to be following the timeline, book one, book two, book three, book four, and then like transgression, Hebeloma, and all those are behind book one. So, but that's book four is just an idea. It's just a concept, and it probably wouldn't be as long or as involved, and the stakes wouldn't be as high as all the other books. It'd be pretty straightforward. Um, but yeah, so that's what's going on with writing. I want to quickly divert over here to the website. Lincolnslegion.com has been rebranded to vengeancebooks.com. But if you go to lincolnslegion.com, it will redirect here. But I went ahead and rebuilt the entire book website to focus entirely on the book. And I have all the information. So when I try to explain to people how it all works, it's a little bit messy and cobbled. So I just made it as easy to understand on the website as possible. You get in here, you get an introduction to what to expect from the book series. You have the intended reading order. Here's Devil to the Damned. You have the timeline order. And then you have minimal reading, which is just book one and book two, and then book three or whatever have you. And then this is the full timeline, including books Devil to the Damned, and this is in order: Devil to the Damned, Transgression, Anthology, Volume One, Book Two, Book Three, and Book Four. Which Break the Cycle is just the current name, the working title. And then you have other stuff. You have the updates. You have the Etsy shop where you can go through and this is just my Etsy shop with other stuff that I work on, but then you have like signed digital prints. Then you have the signed copies of Book One, Book Two, and Transgression, which is the current primary story that's available as a one-time purchase. And then you have the tab over here for the books. You can click on each one individually, and it'll bring you to its own page with a synopsis, where each location to buy it or listen to, other content that's included regarding that book, like the soundtrack and whatever have you. So all of these things are, yeah, all in one compact place. You have an about the author section right here with some like random favorites, a history behind me writing. Then you have more. You have like an art tab right here where you have some artwork. You have extra content, which again, extra content. You have the manga right here that was never finished. You have all my videos I've made, the original drawing. You have some character stat sheets, whatever. And then you have obviously all these social media links, which by the way, follow my book Twitter. I'd appreciate that. Vengeance_books. I have 532 followers, which is pretty sweet. And then you have like the Instagram. And then you have the Facebook as well, which has been not available. That's cool. That's a broken link. Sick. I'm gonna have to go fix that. Anyways, I think that's really all I have to talk about here right now. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you enjoyed, leave a like and follow all the other social medias. And I will see you guys in the next update video, which could be in a very long time.